Hi, this is Michaela for Oye Dimelo Cinema Club, and this week we are going to be talking about Can You Ever Forgive Me? I chose this movie just because I've been thinking a lot about how this industry works, and I've been kind of frustrated to see how, like, TP, calm down. like just how, like, people who are underestimated in their abilities, and Melissa McCarthy is someone I'm constantly thinking about in that category, and I've always really, really wanted to see this film since it first came out, so I made everybody watch it. So, anyways, I guess we should just go ahead and start off with initial thoughts, and then we'll just keep going on to, like, the cinematography. I really want to talk about the aspect of if Melissa McCarthy's character was male, do you think that would change the way that the film was perceived? And I also want to talk about performances, and we'll go from there. So yeah, what's everyone's initial thought? Whoever wants to go first?
I'll be the JP of the group today. I thought it was like kind of like you. I when this movie was coming out and I saw interviews with Melissa McCarthy and stuff, I was kind of excited about because the story is pretty amazing, being based on a true story and everything like that. I just felt I don't know if the movie was just slow. The character is not likable, and I don't know if that like I know we're gonna talk about male versus female later, but I felt like it stretched out too much of this unlikable character for a very long time before she started becoming likable. I don't know if that
Mm-hmm.
makes sense.
Yeah.
So it was the acting was great, just across the board, the acting I thought was super great. Again, the idea of the story that it's based on a true story and the actual things that happen, to me that's really interesting. The way that it was shown just didn't seem that interesting to me, which is hard, because it's just about writing letters, and I don't know if that just is it doesn't have the oomph that I
Mm-hmm.
thought in my mind I would have. So I was I liked the story and the acting, but I wasn't like thoroughly entertained throughout
Right.
the whole movie. I had to like really focus on like, oh, there's gonna be a quiz after this, so I gotta pay somewhat of attention.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
That's that's my initial thoughts.
Okay, Steve.
Alrighty, my initial thoughts. I'm gonna be the opposite of JP and Dino in this one. I like this movie.
Hmm.
I actually, at first, I went with extremely low expectations of this movie, like to the bottom of the barrel floor. This was gonna be one of those movies that I was just gonna see in the background and kind of be doing some other stuff. But I got really intrigued by this movie. Uh, because at first, I'm not gonna lie, I was a little lost. I was like, what's going on? I don't understand what's happening. And I went to Google and I typed the movie and I just read the description of the plot, and that's what got me in. I was like, oh, what? She's gonna get into criminal behavior. Let's find out what happened. And man, I enjoyed the characters because even the old guy and all that, like I enjoyed him. It gave a breath of fresh air. It had many moments, like little moments here and there, that were extremely Melissa McCarthy esque. That I bet
Mm-hmm.
were just like added. It wasn't like really this person, because like Dino would say, he wasn't really like a likable person necessarily. But Melissa McCarthy, of course, gives it that likability, and especially with those little moments, with the little jokes, slapsticks here and there, it keeps the pace going, which I appreciated. But the bulk of the story and everything, I really enjoyed, and those are my first impressions.
Oh man, I thought you were confused because you might have seen like the German dub for some reason. I'm just kidding. I don't know. It's a dumbass joke. It's crazy. My initial thought, I did not know what this movie was gonna be about, so I was shocked when it was about fucking, of all things, forgery and like fan fiction of the dead, like, but kind of, but not really, but it was crazy because like I can't lie, I was definitely intrigued and enticed in the story, and I kind of, the only reason why the only beef that I had with it was like any real negative thought was I was waiting for that for that moment. I was waiting for like this is it, because I was intrigued. I was watching. I was paying attention. I really liked the movie, but I thought something bigger than the film was gonna happen. Kind of like, this is gonna sound stupid because I know people have said this before, but I was kind of waiting for, because I like this is a very, when I first heard of the movie, it seemed very Oscar baity.
Mhm.
So I was waiting for that Oscar moment, in the film, and it never came. In fact, the film at the end of it, I felt was like, this was probably an abridged version of what this film should have been. Like, you get a kind of some idea of it with the ending captions of like what happened in reality, like where this story is based upon. Is like, oh, there was more to it than what we saw. But of course, in the time slot and how the story is and how to condense it, it's definitely not as big as its story that's based upon. I'm sure history is a lot more entertaining than what this film was. But to be honest, I actually did like it, which I was surprised at, because not only did I not the subject matter and stuff like that, but like when I try to watch a film, like I kind of have to attach myself to the protagonist, and like we already said it, like Melissa McCarthy's character is very unlikable and is very shameless about it. But for some reason, I still kind of wanted to root for her and go fucking bananas. Like, I was like, man, is she gonna kill a bitch? I was kind of hoping for that, but of course that didn't happen, and of course it doesn't have to happen. But yeah, no, like it was crazy. Like there's almost no one in this film that's likable or redeemable, or even like, oh, I would like to have a coffee with him. Absolutely.
Yeah, there is.
There's a few that, yes, but they're schmucks and they're fucking, they're being played. You know what I'm saying?
There's one redeemable or one likable character, which is the owner of the bookstore.
That's what I'm talking about. That poor girl was being played like a fucking fiddle, and Melissa McCarthy broke one of the 10 commandments of doing crime, like fucking, being friends, don't get feels or feelings, or don't be schmootsy wootsy with your clientele because they're a bunch of schmucks. And it's almost as bad as doing your own product. Don't do that.
Wait a second.
Once you name it, you start getting attached to it.
Wait a second. You guys are out here talking about likable characters already. We're in first impressions. But if you want to talk about that, the cat. Don't leave the cat out. The cat is the most likable character of them all.
Yes.
The kitty cat.
Both
the
cat and the kitty cat. I told Kayla that was some really good acting on those cats. I fucking loved the cats. You want an Oscar? Do you want an Oscar? What's an Oscar? Like, because I'm almost wondering, like, spoiler alerts, we're going to spoilers now. The scene where the cat dies, I think that was actually the cat. I don't think that was a dummy. I think that was a cat. I think that was the cat. Like, they sedated
the cat
actually
the cat actually died, or it was catting, as in cat acting.
But I was like, they sedated that actor, that cat actor, and it acted pretty good dead.
I'm pretty sure it was a dummy.
It might have been
I'm
a
like
dummy.
100% sure it was a dummy.
It,
But
it
anyways,
looked petrified.
my first impressions is I think this is a very odd little movie. Like,
Yeah.
I was pleasantly surprised. I really, really liked the dynamic between the two leads. Like, I loved their chemistry so much. I think it's a very interesting story just because it happened in real life. I think the way that they lit the whole thing was really weird. I also really appreciated the way that they showed each of their like mental health issues in like their own little way, in a way that wasn't like aggrandizing or romanticizing. You know, I really like how they kind of stuck with like the grit of it. But like with JP saying earlier about like waiting for that big moment, I think that's what this film missed, was like that big culminating thing that pulled everything together. But that's kind of hard to do in a biopic, you know? Which is such a shame because I think it had all the elements to be something really special if it wasn't just like, and I can't decide if this is like a writing thing or if it was a directing thing, but like there's just like one beat that it missed. So, like, it's not, like, a really special thing. But I think it does a lot of interesting things for film. And that's my first impression. So, obviously, everyone, like, seems to really have enjoyed certain characters in that. So, I guess we could go into whose performance you enjoyed the most and, like, why you enjoyed it.
Oh, it definitely was the cat. Definitely loved the cat. No, I'm just kidding, of course. I don't know, it's weird because I know that is it Richard E. Grant who plays Jack or something Grant? I just know that I just know he plays a bunch of assholes in cinemas. He's always like that evil British guy, but in this one he's not. So, but like both of them, since you know they're kind of like the main focuses in this story, like you know, it's weird because like the secondary characters, the you know, like the bookshop owners and whatnot, I felt they were rather one note, but that's okay because they play the role that they were playing. Like the spotlight was not on them, of course. This is Melissa McCarthy's movie. Like, yeah, she is definitely like just like acting her fucking ass off in this film. But once again, like I just wanted that one, like, especially from her. Because like I felt like as kind of slow and not as like the story was, I definitely felt it from her, and I was waiting for that moment where like we're gonna break your fucking heart and we're gonna watch it.
Yeah. Well, I think it's because they missed the opportunity with this. Like they used the wrong lesbian. They focused on the wrong lesbian.
But like, yeah, it definitely has to be Melissa McCarthy's character, because even in like, yeah, she's an asshole, but like she does have like moments of like just being completely shameless and being such a jerk that you can't help but feel like, man, I know that feel though. There's been a few days where I chose to not give a fuck about anyone or life, and I couldn't help but kind of applaud that. I was like, nah, I've had those days too, Melissa McCarthy. You commit to that. But oh my gosh, like no, she definitely had the best performance, and like she's the one that we're following pretty much the whole time, and we're supposed to, even though questionable moral choices and legal choices as well, still pretty good.
Well, I mean, she's an anti-hero, and like, and this is something I do want to discuss later, and I agree with you that like her performance is so good in this film. Like she still manages to like get this weird sensitivity into this character that's just so hardened that like I think that's why it's watchable. Like I don't think if they had that aspect into it, I don't think it'd be watchable. But yeah, and I also really appreciated Robert. Like there's this like one shot where he like after you find out that he has AIDS, that's just so beautiful, and like his expression is just so wonderfully resigned, and it's just like, how do you manage to capture something so special in just like 2 seconds? You know? So yeah, Dino, Steve?
So this is my, I don't know if it's my issue, but yeah, I feel like Grant for the so this is a weird thing. For the movie that we watched, Grant to me, really helps the movie, right? And the character. And you kind of pinpointed that whole part of that transition. And I feel that it's a similar thing with her. To me, when it got interesting was when she was about to get caught and then got caught and then had to deal with the law. And I would have rather seen more of that movie afterwards and how she came to terms and more how she struggled with then actually writing the book about it, right? Like everything, just the beginning, again, not a likable character, just it just was hard. But once she started having those, like, I guess, human emotions or dealing with the reality of her actions, that's when I definitely I was like, okay, now she can still be anti-hero, but it's easier, it just seems more interesting, right? It was very much one note. So I would go with Grant. Just seemed because he was more of the like comic relief, if you will, if that can even be the term, because it was kind of they did such a great job of working off each other. Like that was the most lively the movie had, right? Because again, it's about you know, and you had even said of like, oh, what if it was a male lead or whatever, and I was like, is that movie Catch Me If You Can? Because that that's like the only that Leonardo
Well,
DiCaprio,
I
like
mean,
Catch Me If You Can, or Wolf of Wall Street, or Let's Put Sex
but
into
see,
the
like that's my
Equation, right?
point. Like that's the point I wanted to kind of bring up, is just the fact that if Melissa McCarthy's character had been male, I think that this would have gotten a lot more attention, because like there's just something about a very unlikable male that's still very likable, you know? And like she's playing one of those kind of characters that could have easily been like and I think this is a writing thing too, where like they make their crimes look almost bumbling, whereas like I feel like if this had happened to a man, like they would have made it seem more like hard-edged and like more dangerous,
Like
because
if
like
they
she
would
was
have
like
maybe
legitimately going into like historical archives and like having to like be sneaky about that, like, and I feel like if someone like
if,
if the lead character in the story had been a man, I think they would have gotten that element of danger across much better. And
well,
the unlikability would have been like, well, he's a grumpy guy who's sad.
so would
I
it have
think that
been kind of like Catch Me If You Can when they had the Tom Hanks character, so the FBI? Because what I did read after was that whoever was the FBI agent, kind of like his favorite like letter was of Ernest Hemingway. Like it was a fake letter that she did of Ernest Hemingway complaining about, I think, Spencer Tracy or whoever they casted as the character of one of his films. So like right, there's a lot of that kind of interesting things. Like, would we, if we would have gotten the perspective from Law that we didn't get until the very end, would that have given a little bit more for Melissa McCarthy to work with her
maybe.
character to because you're right, it is a little bumbling and stuff like that, and I forget, I think it was a Ernest Hemingway thing that kind of the got the because not all of that isn't really seen. It's just kind of like, oh, it's like that party is a third party that's off camera, right? Of just like
Right.
people are coming after you or whatever. So it doesn't get super heightened of it because we never see it other than then the facts happening or just someone like hey, by the way, people have been asking questions. It just there doesn't seem like there's a big threat, right?
Yeah, I can
Whereas
agree.
what I was reading afterwards, I was like, man, there's a lot of interesting things that happen and that she was involved with that could have added a little bit more. But I don't know. Yeah, I totally went off track on my whole character tangent thing. But
No, like
I
I
don't
get
know.
what you're saying,
You really liked Leonardo DiCaprio, is what
Oh,
you're
I'm in love
saying,
with
and
him.
I I'm just fucking. I'm just fucking.
Steve.
I gotta say, best performance, right? That's what we're talking about.
Just characters that you like.
Characters that I like or best performance?
Characters that you like.
You know.
Because performance, I enjoyed the performances. I don't want to be the cranky guy that doesn't like performances. Because again, they all did superb.
I know,
Yeah.
but we're picking, in our opinion, the best performance. I thought that was the
Yeah.
original conversation. I'm just
I
I'm making it clear.
misheard the question then, but go on.
So for me, I will have to say Kurt. You know, because you have, it takes a lot to act like you really like this old guy. You know, and
Ooh,
The gay guy.
oh my god.
I mean, you know, they only passed each other crack. You know, blowing each other, whatever. They didn't get to kiss, but I was like, man, this actor, he got his payday. You know what I'm saying? So best performance, Kurt. You know what I'm saying? No, I'm kidding. You know, Melissa McCarthy.
Well, I think
Melissa
that's
McCarthy, of course.
a queer culture thing too. You know, because like I feel like you see a lot more of like those older man, younger man couples, especially in New York around that time.
Hmm.
You know,
But I
like
mean, were they
sugar daddy
even a
thing.
couple, or was it just a like drug convenience thing? Which is kind of,
Oh yeah,
you know, I kind of saw it more of that, of just like them, you know, hooking up because hey, he has drugs and you know that kind of stuff.
yeah.
If you gotta get blow, you gotta do blow.
Yeah,
We'll
print that
workshop
on
it.
a shirt. Print that on a shirt, JP.
We'll workshop it. Okay. No, but I don't know. It's just like I feel like if this story had happened to a man, I think it would have changed the dynamics of how this was written and how they approached the character. And maybe I'm the only one who feels that aspect since I am a woman. But like,
let me interrupt you as a man doing my job.
ooh.
Yeah.
No, just because I know you read books. Did you read her memoir? That's it. Anyway.
No, I haven't. I haven't read it yet.
Anyway, go. I just thought I'd interject and be an ass.
Because that was something that kind of did bother me about this film was like the missed opportunities, and like you said, like when you Googled it, you found like so many like more interesting incidents that would, if they would have showed them, I think it would have made her even more of an anti-hero. And I just can't help but wonder, like, is it because they felt like they had to show a soft feminine side to someone who is not, who identifies as female but doesn't have that femininity?
True.
You know, because like that's something that they clearly tried to steer away from, but like at the same time you can see that they're desperately trying to be like, but see, she's like a little old lady who's sad. And it's just like I can't help but wonder if that had happened to a man, would they have had that issue portraying her that way?
What do you think, Sean Spicer? I just really like her as Sean Spicer. If they ever do a biopic with Sean Spicer, like Sean Spicer is a terrible subject for a movie, but if Sean Spicer was a secondary character, Melissa McCarthy has to do Sean Spicer, like SNL song. That's just my tangent. No, I actually agree with you. When you first brought up the question, I thought that was weird. Like, really? Like, that's a weird fucking question. But after hearing you and talking about it, yeah, I feel like this would have been like they would have copied Catch 'Em If You Can, but instead of checks and literally counterfeiting, they would have made it into literary stuff. And like if this was like a male character, I'm sure they would have like swung his intellectual dick a lot harder and much more forcibly, because I'm sure like with Lee Israel's character, especially like since she's still an older woman, there's no way that you can't make her too brash. Or I'm assuming that's probably what they did.
I think that's
or
the
like
problem.
I'm sure
or
in
like
reality, yeah,
that was the problem.
yeah, because I'm sure in reality, especially after the ending credits, when you find out, oh, there's a lot more to the story that we didn't get to see. It's like, oh, this lady was probably fucking like badass and fucking hard, give no names and shit, but we didn't get to see
that.
We didn't get to see Melissa McCarthy's character take that leap or take that like darker turn that we saw, which would have made for an even better redemption at the end, and also would have been nice to have seen, because the funny thing is like this is based on her book, and like the end of the story is, oh, she's finally gonna actually write something based on her, like, and not only something but something that's true and actually happened to her. But the movie doesn't do that at all. It's just like a passing glance, and that's it.
Yeah, and the funny thing is they almost treat it like the moral of the story. Like that's one of the big storylines too. Yeah. Like because like of the altercation, like and like I said, it's just like I feel like there's just so many things that they did to kind of soften her in a way that didn't look like it was like that didn't soften the character, but made her seem more bumbling and like comedic, and I feel like that's like something that like they also did because it was Melissa McCarthy, and it's so frustrating to think about how many stories, like how many great stories we are missing out on because of the way if someone looks, or because like how old they are, or because of their gender, and because we feel like we have to portray these certain things in certain ways in order to be like palatable. Like what if we just like made Lee Israel? Like what would have happened if they just like kept that edge?
Well, a couple of things. I did also read that originally Julianne Moore was going to play Lee Israel, and Nicole holofcener was going to direct. She's actually the one credited with a screenplay, and I guess there was not altercation, but they couldn't agree how to go or whatever, and so like Nicole fired Julianne Moore, which is crazy, and then kind of the project kind of fell apart, and then she left also, and then so like I think the production clearly had issues of trying to figure out how to portray Lee. I thought it was interesting. When you said about how depending who the actress or who the character is, it reminds me of the movie Monster. Was that Uma? No, it wasn't Uma Thurman. Who? Charlize Theron.
Yeah.
Like they did not like. There were producers and stuff that did not want her to like gain weight or like they wanted her to be Charlize Theron sexy, So, and she like fought to make herself look closer to what the actual person looked like and stuff like that. Yeah. So that's a very big thing,
No, and you want to know something crazy about that? Yeah. Is like they're actually making a TV show about the same thing and they're sexing it up.
Oh, really?
I just love that Charlize Theron told them like, hey, make me look like a fucking murderer, crazy psycho bitch, like this murderer, crazy psycho bitch. Also, I think it takes a lot of balls to fire Julianne Moore, but at the same time, shame on them. Shame on both of them.
So the other thing just with that, the whole thing with Captain Marvel or Marvel, however you pronounce it, and they wanted Brie Larson to smile in the pictures for the the posters and stuff like that, and she was kind of like, none of the other, you don't see Thor and all these other people like smiling in their promo shots, and she was like, I'm not gonna smile, and that was a huge thing And then I think someone went and got like all the, you know, Captain America and Thor and like and added smiles to all their posters just because it was like, yeah, if you're a superhero and you're looking tough, whatever, you know, but then the female superhero has to be like, so it's so it's a huge thing. I agree. Like it's like if it were someone else, would it be like now it's a sexy lesbian librarian, you know, like who knows how much they wanted to turn it around.
Yeah, because like I think, because like I said earlier, it's just like the scene of her like between her and her past lover were it was such a good scene, and could you imagine how much more stakes there would have been if they
Yeah.
included that more? You know?
Yeah, it was such a
Like
weird.
instead of like giving us like this like cute little romance thing that just falls through, like what if they actually gave us the tumultuous, like what if that was the relationship? You know, and if Lee Israel was a male, I think that they wouldn't have had a problem doing that. Like if anything, they would have highlighted it as like a reason for us not to like this character. But like they couldn't do that. They had to give us
So
something.
I part of it, I guess, that's why I would have been interested. I would have been more interested in seeing like her deal with once the consequences came out of how she decided to write the book and all that kind of thing, and maybe that's where there are flashbacks here and there. But of like the relationship, like yeah, the one woman that she went on the date with or whatever is a fictitious character, right? But of course you add stuff like that. So I don't even know about the other lady that she apparently had a relationship, because what I read was, you know, like she never came out, or like, but like her close friends, which also means like she definitely had more friends than no friends and just the cat and just the one friend. But um yeah, that's a hard thing with how you do it, because even the Grant, apparently the person that he's an actual person or whatever wasn't British. They just made that, I don't know, more eccentric for the film. Gay is not eccentric enough, so let's make him British.
Make him
Uh,
British.
yeah, I mean,
It's just very interesting how like they have like how we as a culture have like developed these stereotypes, and like how heavily we still like rely on them despite us trying so hard to move forward, you know. And like I said, and it's just very interesting because when you look at like books that are coming out, you see like this desperate cry for like heroines who are overweight and like people who are old in horror movies, and you know, and you see like this need, but like we can just never seem to be like, you know what, it's okay if they don't look like this, you know. Like we see that this is happening slowly but surely, but like I don't think it's happening fast enough, and it's just such a shame because we are living in an age where we can have more coverage about this stuff than ever, but like yet all they want to put in front of us is what we've known before.
well, yeah, okay, so I don't know how much you looked into her and like the case or whatever, but I don't know if they made this movie and maybe they just assumed like there were a bunch of Lee fans out there. Because I just knew what Melissa McCarthy talked about and like what the overall thing. But then looking at it, you know, like at the beginning when it was like, oh, they're selling her book, and it's the biography of the
Fanning.
makeup mogul or whatever. And then I read into it, and that lady, they tried to pay Lee not to do a biography on her. Like they were going to pay her a bunch of money to drop the biography, and she refused. So then the makeup mogul went ahead and wrote her own biography and got it out before Lee's biography, and so it did better than Lee's. And like that, like let me see that interaction, right? Because then in the biography that she wrote, that the movie, she actually is like, I regret not taking a lot of money to not write the biography that I wrote. Like it's just like way more like juicy moments like that instead of just like, oh, I see you're selling my book. There's a whole good half an hour of material that we could do of interactions with other characters that would be super interesting. No, we're just gonna point at it at the table over there, right? Because the Jane Curtin thing, like, is it Curtin or Curtis? Curtin? Jane Curtin?
Mm.
Is that her name?
I have
Curtin?
no idea, dude.
From
No
SNL. She's the you could you guys don't know Jane from Third Rock from the Sun and SNL and Conan? No, she was her agent.
Like I know of the actress. I don't know if it's Curtin or Curtis.
Oh, okay, got it. So like they were trying stuff with her and interacting with her, and they showed glimpses of her, but it's like that was another what I think a missed, opportunity of just like let's show more of her interactions that would then add to the story instead of just like little sidebars, if you will. It needed a Dino sidebar. It needed a juicy Dino sidebar, and it would have been a classic.
It definitely would, but instead we got riffing on Tom Clancy of all authors.
Right?
Like I thought that was so like that's funny, like just riffing on Tom. It's probably because they have the same agent. And I was like, we're gonna talk about how much of an asshole Clive Cussler is, or like how overrated James Patterson is, who probably started getting his big start during the 90s. It's like, you're that James Patterson guy, that stupid napkin motherfucker.
Well, I mean, they are different markets too.
Right, and I guess so the Tom Clancy, right? I was hoping there'd be more of that, not like a Tom Clancy, but of her actually like trying to push that, right? It's kind of what we've talked about, and see more of that kind of like struggle, whether it's certain letters that she tries to sell, and it's like, if you had an Ernest Hemingway, or if we have some guide letters, those are worth,
Oh, I didn't even notice that. Like there was the only the one man that she wrote, and he was gay. Like she didn't write any straight men. Like they didn't show any of her straight men care. Wow, I didn't even notice that. That's like a move they made. They missed so many opportunities. Ah!
Yeah. So I mean,
I'm upset now.
Because I felt like this was, and it doesn't kind of go with me. This felt somewhere between Trumbo and Catch Me If You Can, and they couldn't quite figure out what to go with.
What to do with it? Yeah, no, like I agree. Hey, Steve, you've been pretty quiet. Do you want to add anything, or do you have anything to add?
What do you have for us next week?
Already.
Next week. Oh, what do you want me to chime in on? You guys been, I mean,
well, I'm just saying you've been really quiet.
Back and forth,
Well, if that's good, we can keep on going. But
nothing's wrong with that, because like I'm kind of with Steve here. I'm just listening to you guys. I'm like, man, it's really cool when people who actually read know about shit, and you're just there. I guess it's kind of like how, like when a Star Trek fan starts like yapping their mouths, and it's like, fuck, I have no idea what the fuck they're talking about, but I'm just gonna listen. And you think maybe, oh, I'll chime in a little Star Wars knowledge here, but then you're the asshole who derailed the conversation. It's like, who's this fucking asshole bringing up Star Wars while we're talking about, actual art and story?
I'm sorry. That wasn't my intent.
No, nothing's wrong with that. No.
But it's just like the fact that they didn't even show the fact that she did like imitate Hemingway. Like that would have been such a ballsy thing to show.
Writers, more popular writers also, because I just she wrote about, was that Marlene Dietrich that they meant, right? That's who they mentioned, Marlene. which I guess then it was kind of like, how does her gay friend not know who Marlena Dietrich was? Because that was a huge,
Yeah.
gay symbol back then, and so it was just like I was struggling with some of the references. What I was expecting more. Me and you, Michaela, we can go back and forth if the other guys aren't. But as she started writing, like when she first started and just like added like the PS or whatever, and you could hear her narrating, I thought that's where they were gonna maybe get Melissa McCarthy really into it, as her like having little conversations with the characters, because you kind of see her jabbing, some of the people, pretty interesting, right? Or like pretty salacious conversation. So I thought there was either in like a little montage scene or whatever, she would have these kind of conversations back and forth, because again, when it's just her and the cat and you just see her typing, it's like, great, typing, got it. I used to skip out on my typewriter school that my parents made me go take during the summer, because it was super cool just sitting at a typewriter for 3 hours during the middle of the day. So that's another place where I was like, if we're hearing her internal thought of what she's writing, play with that and what the letters actually were and how maybe she changed it, or what because everything we saw her seeing and not any action. Like, we saw her researching other letters, but we didn't read those letters. We didn't hear her read those letters. We had to pinpoint her researching and then her doing her work and then being like, pretty good. Sounds pretty legit.
That would have been they could have played some really funny visuals with that, because I'm listening to this and my brain's like, man, they could have gone like a drunk history route where these these other actors are doing the scene but in Melissa's voice, or we see Melissa fucking play Sean Spicer, like have her dress up as these fucking people, which is also like, as hokey as that is, I think it would have been cutesy, and also it would have shown like, oh, she's literally putting herself as these historic figures, and that's kind of like in the film, that's kind of how she gets caught, is that she gets kind of too lenient with it, where it's like, oh, you're being a little too cheeky, you're not playing these characters anymore, you're playing a parody or a copy of these characters,
Yeah.
I think that would have been it. Part of me feels like it would have been like silly, but at the same time, I definitely probably would have liked that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like I said, this is just such a weird little movie in general, too. Like the fact that the story was chosen, the way that they tried to perceive everything, and like all the opportunities missed. Yeah. Because like I also thought it was very weird how yellow they decided to make the film.
Oh, I thought that was because old books are yellowish.
No, and I got that too, but it's just like when they really used like a harsh yellow, I thought it was weird timing. Like in the little bistro scene with her like date, like that was really yellow.
Yeah, should have godfathered it a little orange to it.
Yeah, no, but or like I mean, like they could have softened. Like it's just like they made very interesting choices as to the coloration of this film. That like that and the music was weird too.
Oh,
am I the only one who thought that?
I don't have an opinion on it because I don't remember the music at all.
No, like because
wasn't it just kind of jazzy overall?
No, like there, like it was like at first it was just like really like bubbly and whimsical at first, and it was just kind of like, where is this? Like, why was this the just?
Oh yeah, it's crazy because he did kind of say that. It was like, this is what people think New York music sounds like kind of like you guys are trying to do Rhapsody in Blue right now, but it's definitely not Rhapsody in Blue.
Yeah, no, like it was just like there was like a lot of weird choices, but like there's like so many little moments in this film that I loved, like them cleaning up her apartment. Like
Oh,
I know
God.
it's really gross and gritty, but like the fact that they were willing to show that so you could see how
Yeah.
truly alone she was, and like the way that she like let her space and herself go to the point, you know, like they showed that, but they couldn't show us like her actually arguing with somebody in a way that was like emotionally meaningful, like, which is like such an interesting dichotomy, I thought. So I don't know.
Cause yeah, the character. I mean, and there's a thing we're really interested in the character and the story because it's like it left us wanting more but not satisfied. Does that, I don't
Yeah.
know. That's kind of how I'm feeling about it. It's like I enjoyed again the performances were all really great, but I wasn't satisfied by the movie. I wanted more. It's not, oh, this was a waste of my time or it was horrible. It was enjoyable, but I was not satisfied.
Yeah. I mean, I guess with that, like that kind of gives everyone like my final thoughts. Like
Yeah.
if we want to jump into that.
Yeah, I kind of jumped into it myself. I mean,
Yeah, no, like it kind of
That's crazy. I think we're almost all pretty much in agreement. Cause like, yeah, like some of us enjoyed the film a little bit more than others, but at the same time, we all wanted more out of it, and we're expecting for that more to happen, and it just never did. Like it's been great talking to you guys about it because like I always felt like, oh, like there's something missing, and like yeah, like the scenes of consequence and like scenes that like heighten the stakes that like if this was made by another person or starring another person would totally be in it. Like that whole like I could just picture it so vividly in my mind. Like before the phone call rings, like it cuts to like a scene in New York where a bunch of fucking top hat motherfuckers with like yachts and whatever. It's like, look at this thing that I own. Look at this love letter by this famous person. And then this like snooty motherfucker like walks in or is like in a chair who happens to know the author is like, oh look, it's old man Jacob. Oh man Jacob, look at this look at this note from your old friend Ernest Hemingway. And then old man Jacob puts on his spectacles. He looks at the paper, and you know the camera kind of like looks at the little nitty details that Melissa McCarthy did to try to make it look as authentic as it can. And then it cuts to him just like looking up with like, you know, I was like some bastard defiled my friend's legacy with this fucking fan fiction, trying to pass it as reality in just that like half a second of film that you could have gotten from like some old bastard that they got from San Francisco to play this historic figure's friend. And like ooh, it would have been great. And then would have cut to, you know, Melissa and Jack like laughing, and then the phone ringing.
this has been
Wow.
Cerritos production, everyone. Thank you so much.
Oscar nominated.
That was the Oscar scene I was missing. and then you know like maybe if they extended the courtroom scene where they added like fake witnesses, and that old bastard comes up as a witness. It's like you don't understand. My friend was a good man, and you turned him into a common slut. No, that would have been overdoing it. It should have just been him like just looking like angrily from the side, or like such disdain, like look at this poor homely woman, oh so disgusting and smells like cat shit.
Well then.
But he wouldn't have said it. It would have all been visual. You know, a good actor would have portrayed that in that scene.
Yeah.
Well,
Actually,
I'll go. You guys already kind of got my final thought, but I have a final thought on me explaining what I said earlier, which I think Steve is gonna really like this one. My final thought, or what I learn of this film, is that white crime pays. Because we have Catch Me If You Can, we have Wolf of Wall Street, we have this, all white people committing crimes, felonies, And all they have to do is like maybe some jail time, maybe some just like probation time, and then they can write a book about the crimes that they committed and make a whole lot of money off the books. And then the books will be made into movies, and they can be likable characters. Where is that for non-white people?
And of course,
touché.
the classic final shot or final scene where you know it's very ambiguous. Like, but did they learn their lesson? Did they? But did they? But did they?
I mean, we kind of got that with the shopkeeper thing where she
no, exactly, and that's how all these other fucking movies end, with Leonardo DiCaprio holding a fucking con, a convention, a literal convention con. Like I'm gonna teach you guys self-motivation through moral ambiguity and legal.
legal.
Yeah.
You said
Well, and then even the Catch Me If You Can thing recently, I think they came in like, not only was he already a con man and he like did all the checks and all that, but then he even conned more people, because when he wrote this book, he just made up a whole bunch of shit about himself, you know. So it's like everything that was, I guess, in the Catch Me If You Can book, or what he was, you know, like he just built himself even as a bigger con person that he actually was. And it's just like, yeah, it's just write whatever you want after you've committed some crimes, and you'll be rich, and you don't have to pay it back.
That's shockingly on brand for that character, actually. That's hilarious.
You approve, Steve?
Anyways, what are your final thoughts?
I approve, Dino. I approve. I was gonna comment some of the same thing, because I was gonna say like, yo, so she did illegal stuff. She was aware of doing that illegal stuff, and her lawyer was like, yo, do community service, do this, do that. She went to a shelter for cats. They were like, oh, you get probation, house arrest, and stuff like that. I'm like, yo, that's crazy. But I enjoy the cinematography of this film. I enjoy the characters. They weren't likable characters, but it's to show kind of like a different side of life, because typical characters are not like this, are not shown in regular movies, you know. And I still appreciated the movie. It definitely intrigues you once you start knowing the plot and things like that. I'm not as knowledgeable of authors and things like that as my fellow colleagues here, but I did learn a lot about that specific market, because I am definitely interested in just getting to know numbers and stuff. So that was fun for me to be like, oh, how much for this one? Huh? They gave me double on the other one. Like, I love that line over there. And yeah, overall, this is a movie that is definitely, at least for my taste, extremely under the radar. Like, I wouldn't have found out about this movie at all if it wasn't recommended through Michaela Cinema Club. So yeah, I enjoyed it. 2 thumbs up. I would recommend it to people that like movies about biographical stuff.
White criminals.
Gotcha. I guess when it comes to recommendations, like, this is gonna sound kind of mute, but like I probably would recommend it to like people who I know are into books and shit. It's like, because I was surprised that this sort of industry existed, and I was even more surprised that people who are in the literary industry were like, you know, it's how Melissa McCarthy kept asking questions like, "This is a thing. This is a thing." It's like, bitch, probably already knew. she's just playing she's just doing that for the audience's sake because I didn't fucking know. But I appreciated it. But I was like, there's no way that this bitch barely knows about this shit.
Let me interject on that real quick. I also love that. I thought that was so gangster.
Yeah.
Of actually like the librarians and stuff having this like underground luxurious business. Because I was like, how do they survive off books? Oh, they be scheming on the side. Okay.
Hey, y'all want to know how to keep an independent bookstore open?
Right? It's like, I can't believe a bookstore would have like thousands of dollars just ready on hand to give away.
That's the unrealistic part. As someone who works at a bookstore.
It was back in the 90s or 80s, whatever. Cash was more readily available.
Yeah. No, I guess.
Cash
but
was more
like,
on hand.
a small used bookstore just being like, oh yes, I will give you $200. Is kind of just like, unless you specialize in that.
They're counting paper while reading paper.
Hey. So, anyways, I think JP has a question for somebody.
Why don't you ask the question? It's the same.
You're funnier than me.
That was so sweet.
I'm gonna put that on my
sweetest.
And I was like, Kayla said that I was funnier than her, and she meant it. I'm never getting this back. You guys are witnessing a moment that has never happened before, and probably never will again. This is great.
Yeah.
And it's documented. It's on video. It's going to be online, which means it'll outlive all of us. So that's awesome. The question. So, Steve. Oh, wait, wrong way. There's Steve. What do you got for us next week?
Next week, I don't know why you're asking me because it's not my turn, clearly. It is Dino's turn. Dino, what do you got next week? And remember, it got to be 2 movies, and we get to vote for it.
Okay, I got 2 movies I haven't seen, but I'm very excited. Here, Steve, I'm sending to you okay, so these are 2 movies.
Okay,
the first movie, can you put it up, Steve?
The first movie? Okay, here we go.
All right. So the first movie is Toy Story 4. Now, the second movie, Steve, can you put it up? There you go. So for JP, which movie would you like to see? Toy Story 4 or Toy Story 4, JP? We know you. I think you're a big fan. Did JP just blow up?
I feel like the first one is a bit more honest of what the movie's actually about. Okay.
Wow, I think we broke JP. He's like not reacting, not really quite knowing what to do.
I don't want to watch either one if you want me to be honest with you.
Anyway, not the real one. They're not real pics. We just wanted to see your reaction, JP, and
great. It was good.
You did not
disappoint.
Yeah, that's a word. I was gonna say decepcionar, but yeah,
we'll do a sidebar where I talk about how pointless the movie.
You already did last time. That's why I thought.
Oh wait, I gotta redo this. Hold on.
Oh, no.
I'm just kidding.
All right. So for real, let me. I sent you my real real 2. All right, number 1 is The Electrical Life of Louis Wayne.
Dang.
And number 2 is Pain and Glory. So that is I don't know if you guys know, that's Almodovar film that came out I think in 2019. And the first one that I show, the one that has Benedict Cumberbatch, is just came out on Amazon Prime not so long ago, and they're both somewhat biographical.
Mhm.
So the Almodovar one is somewhat biographical with his life, and the Louis Wine is biographical in the artist's one. So yeah, so number one would be Louis Wine, and number two would be Pain and Glory. So all right, so I'm gonna do a countdown from 3, 2, 1, and then you guys got to put up your fingers as uno or your two fingers for number two. Are we good?
All right.
Everyone ready? All right. 3, 2, 1, fingers.
Oh,
Whoa.
unanimous.
Okay.
Here we go.
And that was Pain and Glory.
Can I tell you how relieved I was when it was not Pain and Gain? For like 3 seconds, I thought it was Pain and that too. For 3 seconds, that's not Pain and Gain, right? That stupid rock movie. That's fine. We don't talk
Mark
about
Wahlberg and The Rock. I was thinking of like doing that, you know. I was like, what's the movie called? But yeah. Awesome. I'm excited.
Well,
wait.
for El Dondino, Michael and JP, and me, Steve Des TV. We'll catch you next week. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Hello
Bye.
there, I am Steve Des from Oya Dimelo Network. Don't forget to subscribe, and also don't forget, you can literally click there or click there, and you watch more videos. Isn't that great?